There we go. Hey, Lee.
Hello. Hey, how are you
How are
going?
ya?
Good to see you. I'm
Yeah,
great,
it's nice.
thanks.
Cool.
Nice to see
Um, so
you.
just to maybe like give it a little introduction here. Um, we're two RTT therapists, which is Rapid Transformational Therapy, and we're talking today about our different practices and how we each use RTT with our clients. And we each have a very different ideal client or a niche that we work in, and how we might
Mm-hmm.
apply this modality to help people.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're just having a chat about it today. So I was kind of curious, Lee, I mean, can you describe your approach to rapid transformational therapy and how it differs from other types of therapy modalities?
Yeah, I was always interested in hypnotherapy, and I have done hypnotherapy, like short courses, things like that. And I just noticed that with other types of hypnotherapy, we were just like looking into like giving the client suggestions, getting them deep and giving them suggestions. And that was it. That's what I found was what was happening with the other types of hypnotherapy that I was doing, the courses that I'd done. And then I actually had RTT. This lady, she was helping with a problem that I had. And I had no knowledge of RTT before I had it. And
Mm.
I noticed that there was a change. And I thought, this is strange. She's asking me questions. And I thought hypnotherapy was you just sit there, you get relaxed and you listen. But the really good thing about RTT is that you actually find out what the client's view is of their problem, like what made them come up with this
Right.
problem. Yeah, so that's what I love about RTT. Like it gets to the root cause.
Isn't that great?
And yeah, it's talking to the subconscious mind, and it's actually like investigating
Mm-hmm.
the mind, like getting the mind relaxed. In saying that, you don't have to be so relaxed, that it's all different levels of um, being communicating with the subconscious mind. You know how some people have this view about you have to be at this level. It's not actually
Yeah.
true. Like, yeah.
It's
So
that preconceived notion that you have to be in this deep trance that you don't even know what's going on. And that's not at all how it is, right? And in fact, the depth of trance makes very little difference.
that's right. So I just love that we get to actually talk to the subconscious mind, and we can find out,
Mhm.
because often clients are so hypnotized by their own problem that they can't see. Like
That's
we're
an
their
interesting
guide
way
to
of putting
getting,
that. Yeah, they're
yeah,
hypnotized by their problem. I like that. Yeah.
yeah.
In a
And
sense,
one
yeah,
thing,
that's true.
yeah. And one thing that I noticed as well that I've witnessed, and you've probably witnessed this yourself being in the same field, is so problems often hold hands with other problems, don't they? Like, say, you might
Yes.
come to this, but
Yeah.
all these other things seem to change as well. So that's what
Right.
I love about this whole type of
Yeah.
therapy. Like, it's completely different. Like, how do I know what a client what their perception of the problem is by reading a script? Like, we're not actually reading a script, we're actually helping the client get to the root cause by using our
Mhm.
tools. And
I
that's
always
what I
feel
love
like
about that.
we're more like the guide or the facilitator. The client's the one doing the heavy hitting, they're the ones doing the hard work. We're just
Yeah.
helping direct it. We're like directing them through this journey to discover their own reasons, their own issues, and to make those connections, or in some cases to disconnect, to remove like a behavior from a belief so that you can let go of, like smoking, for example. or drinking, maybe those behaviors are attached to a memory or a belief, or just some habitual activity that you partake in. And then once you separate those from one another, then you can let go of it, right? And just, I love that you said like problems hold hands with other problems. It's so true.
Yeah.
Like maybe somebody comes to you and it could be something as innocuous as nail biting, for example. And then next thing you know, they're telling you about the time that they were molested when they were 5. And then, oh, by the way, I also have this attention deficit issue, and maybe I have anxiety. And then you're resolving all of it because it's all interrelated, right?
I
And they
know,
didn't
it's
recognize
crazy.
it.
It's just amazing how the subconscious mind just comes up with these connections, and you cannot figure out, you cannot plan a session, I guess, and because what shows up, you need to have those tools that you
Yeah,
can
right. I mean,
work
there's a
with.
certain aspect of it you can plan in advance, or at least have something prepared to work with them, because sometimes we have to research things before we even get in there.
That's
Somebody
right.
has
So
a problem you're not familiar with. You've got to research it. You need to understand what you're trying to work around, right? But the rest of it's
yeah,
all on the fly. Like you don't have any idea what they're going to say to you.
that's right. And they don't know as well. They
No,
don't know what's happened here.
right.
But when we get
Yeah,
them there, they finally have that area,
right.
they have their safe space where they can actually go to investigate. And I think you would find the same, that when you develop that rapport with someone, they know that they're in a safe place, and they
Yeah.
know they're supported, and they know that whatever comes up,
Mhm.
that you are the person to help
Yeah.
with their particular problem. So
Mhm.
you can actually, I guess you must find there's a lot of like rapport building before you actually do.
Yeah. I mean, people are going to
And
tell you some pretty intimate stuff and they need to feel safe. And I often
mm,
find, and you probably do too, like when a client writes me a review or a testimonial, they often will say something like, that I made them feel very safe. And so that's obviously something they were concerned about, when they came, that
yeah,
they were scared to be
yes,
vulnerable and tell you really intimate things sometimes. So it's really
yes,
important somebody feels safe and
yes,
comfortable in order to divulge these things to you.
that's
And of course,
right.
everything's
Yeah.
confidential. So
So
yeah.
if you were thinking like what would be the most important thing that you would bring to clients um, in a session, would it be that safe place, that safety, giving them the safety that they,
Well, I think for
because say,
sure, like if it's a first session with somebody, that's like paramount that they have to feel
yeah,
completely comfortable. And sometimes I think we don't really get some super valuable stuff in that first session because it's more about building that rapport and that feeling of safety, right? Because that's more
yeah,
important than anything else. And then some people have never experienced any form of hypnosis, or maybe they're not even, experienced with meditation or any kind of new age ideas. And some people come to me very, even somewhat uncomfortable, very reticent that this is going to help. And a lot
yeah,
of that is just through that journey and that experience of trying it out and then beginning to feel a little differently as they go through the session. And then afterwards, when they go, especially if they've had some sort of aha moment in that session, that's huge, because then all of a sudden they realize they can relax. Some people really struggle to even get into a trance in their first session. And that's a little bit of a challenge, and I'll work through that with people, in various ways. But yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah, that's huge though,
yes,
to just make them feel safe. And
yeah.
so
I
they,
think
they know they can
safety,
tell you things.
yeah, because I know that say, when I actually met that RTT therapist the first time I ever had
Mhm.
RTT, I just had this feeling that she was a very supportive person, she
Yeah.
was someone that was very professional as well. And I tried to make sure that I actually model that as well, because I guess my background as a nurse as well kind of gives more authority in that position, because I guess confidentiality is a big thing as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like just knowing that you're not going to tell people
Right.
about
Yeah. I mean, doesn't
what's
matter if you're going
happening.
to see a massage therapist, a chiropractor, a surgeon, whatever. You want to know that the things you say are not, posted widely for people to know, or that you're not telling everybody. And especially if somebody's young, that you're not divulging their feelings or
Yeah,
their private stuff to other people, you know.
yeah,
Sometimes we
uh,
discuss our clients in a somewhat public way, but it's always in a very private manner. I could say, I'm seeing a person who is divorcing, an abusive spouse, and maybe we would talk some specifics about it, but there's nothing that would ever identify a client in any way, shape, or form.
exactly.
It's
Yeah,
always used in a more educational, and certainly, with someone's permission, of course, but
exactly. And obviously names would be changed in that respect, wouldn't
100%,
they? Yeah.
100%.
So I was just going to ask you about, like, say a client comes to you and they might have like anxiety, or they might have like a history of like something like they want to deal with, like a small problem. Do you often find that that can be a symptom of a larger problem? Like, I
Oh,
know we
yeah,
touched on this before, like they think
almost
it's this,
always. Yeah,
but it's never that, is it?
yeah.
So
I
would
was
you,
working with somebody who is, I'm not even going to say how I know her, but um, a colleague of sorts, but she's not a therapist. I worked with her recently, and she was really stuck on this ability to move forward, and self-doubt in the professional realm kind of thing. It's not really, my area. I don't work a lot with, generating wealth or money blocks or career blocks, that kind of stuff. But, she's somebody that I have an acquaintance with, and she was needing help. So we did some work. She really had this predisposed, or the predetermined idea of what the problem was, and she just couldn't seem to get her head around it. But we went through this whole session, and it was kind of this amazing magical moment that came up. And I want to say it was like the second or third memory that she brought up under hypnosis. And it was this, not like some giant, like, oh my God, like this terrible thing happened. It was this small, innocuous moment that happened when she was like 17 or 18 years old. And she was telling the story to me of what this person had said to and about her in front of others. And she recognized in that moment what a massive impact that had on her. And she believed the things this person said about her. And we talked about it. And it wasn't even that the person intended to hurt her in any way. He was just saying, that she wasn't like as naturally gifted as some of these other students that he had, but she worked harder than everybody else. But her young mind took it as, I'm not very good, and I'm stupid, and I'm lazy, and and that's how she took it. And so she'd internalized that and truly believed that she couldn't succeed. She would never succeed. She was always going to be a failure. And in that moment, it was like she had this massive light bulb that went off, and she went, oh my God, I believed that about myself. And I know he didn't mean it that way. As an adult, I can now see that this wasn't intended that way. But in my child's mind, my internal child took it that way and believed it. And
yeah,
so she'd been holding
it's
herself back her entire adult life.
yeah,
It
it's
was amazing.
amazing though when you go have those moments in sessions where people just have this light bulb moment, or
Yeah.
and it just changes their whole perception of what the
Yeah.
symptom or the problem was. And it's just amazing. Like, I've had that myself,
It's
Like,
like it gives you chills as the therapist dealing with this client. And when you experience that with them, you're like, oh my God,
yeah,
and you realize the impact on someone's
right.
life, the positive impact. It's like, wow. And you come out of those sessions when you work with somebody like that, and you just think, my God, I am like the luckiest person on the planet that I get to help people have this
Right.
massive change, this massive shift. And what a huge positive
Yeah.
change that they are making in that moment. And you're sitting there witnessing it. It's
Yeah.
cool, right?
I actually I'm in this other therapist group, and it's great because you get to see the positive confirmation as well from
Mm.
um how what other therapists are doing. Anyway, there was this story about this lady. She had issue with swimming, and I don't know what the full story, but and a couple of hours later after the session, she sent the therapist a video of her swimming. Someone
So before
had,
that, she was afraid to swim.
and then like hours later, she was swimming. She
Oh
had
my God.
someone, and she was like, it was amazing. And he was
Yeah,
like, wow, you know.
yeah.
And I love that because you get that yourself as well. You get your
Mhm.
clients sending you messages, and they're just like, you just feel like I'm doing the right job, right?
Right.
I'm just doing my purpose. I'm helping people,
Yeah.
and it's amazing. Like even ourselves, we've had therapy from RTT, and that's probably why we're here right now. Like, and
Right.
that's why a lot of colleagues are doing what we do because we've
We've
experienced
experienced it. Yeah.
ourselves. We
Yeah.
know that it works, and we
I mean,
were
I
able
always
to
say
help.
that RTT literally saved my life. Like
See,
literally. When
yeah,
I had my first session, I actually signed up for that session because I was in such a bad place that I was planning to kill myself.
mm, yeah,
And I
and
had
that's
this
huge.
box, like, yeah. I mean, I had this box of pills on my kitchen counter, and I was like, well, I don't really want to take it, but I didn't see any way out in that moment. That was kind of where I was at emotionally. And I signed
Yeah,
up for this session. I thought, what the hell? I mean, it's only money, and I'll be dead tomorrow anyways, right? So I
yeah.
did
So
this
you have
session.
those options. Yeah, and look
I
at you
did
now.
that session, and right then and there in that session, it was like the veil lifted, and all of a sudden I saw everything in a completely new light. And it like stopped the spinning in my mind of all of the, garbage that I was going through. And it enabled me to
Yeah,
think clearly for the first time in months.
yeah,
And like that night, I stopped having panic attacks. I stopped having nightmares. All of the, PTSD symptoms I had just went away after that session.
yeah. See, that's what blows me away about
Yeah,
RTT is that change in perception.
right, right.
So quickly. But obviously, all clients don't get that same.
Yeah, no. I mean,
It's not
it's
always, is it? Like,
right, because that, we're taught, and it's very true, that change comes in three ways. Sometimes it's that big light bulb moment right then and there, but other times it's more subtle, it's slow, it's gradual. So maybe, it begins to fade, maybe a thought, a belief, a
yeah,
feeling begins to fade, and then slowly but surely it just disappears. Or you could even go months down the line, and then all of a sudden you go, huh, I don't do that anymore. I don't think that way
yeah,
anymore. And I don't even recognize when the shift changed.
yeah.
Yeah.
So knowing this and knowing that this is how we do change those three ways that you mentioned, do you get your clients to write or keep a record of how they were before and then
Yeah.
so they can look back?
Yeah. I didn't
Yeah,
used to, but now I typically, when I start, because we do a pretty big session up front before we even get into any of the RTT stuff, I'll spend a couple hours with them, and I call it the deep dive life audit. And we really go through, like, who are the players in their life, and who are where are these problems, and how does this behavior affect you, and we just go through the nuts and bolts of everything. And part of that, then I also give them a survey, and I have them rank, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you agree or disagree with the statement? I feel joy. I feel, and there's, I think it's about 30 or 40 different statements, and I have them rank those. And then after we've completed a number of sessions, then we'll go back and do it again. And sometimes they don't even recognize that they've changed the way they think or feel until they look at the difference between before and, it's not always after. Sometimes it's midstream.
Wow, that's amazing, isn't it? Because
Do
I
you do
think you
something like
do.
that too?
So yeah, I do that because I really feel that when you do go back and you review that, sometimes there's a light bulb that goes off as well, because
Yeah.
it's crazy. Like, say you do score like yourself out of 10, and then you realize, oh, I don't have that emotional connection anymore. It's completely gone. I don't feel that in that situation anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel anxious about I don't have social anxiety in these situations anymore. And yeah, like, just going back and revisiting that, it just shows you where you've come, because you do often
Yeah.
forget, don't you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so
think
I make sure
sometimes you
that I,
do. You forget
yeah,
how you felt before
mm,
because you change gradually sometimes.
yeah.
Or you just quickly adopt a new way of thinking and feeling and relating, and you forget that you felt differently before. So I think it's really useful.
And I guess the subconscious mind, the change is often silent, isn't it?
Yes,
That's
for
the way I
sure.
would describe it.
Yeah.
Silent.
Because
Yeah.
there is that disconnect, right, between the conscious and the subconscious. I mean, if it wasn't disconnected on some level, you would have direct access to the way you think and feel and react to things, right? And you could just say, no, I'm going to stop that now. And then you would just stop it, right? But you don't have
Yeah.
that. There is that disconnect. So obviously, those changes are occurring behind the scenes and you don't consciously, notice it sometimes, right?
Exactly. I agree. So talking about your niche, so how would you describe your niche?
I
Like,
mean, I work predominantly with professional women who have experienced toxic abuse or narcissistic abuse.
yeah,
And that's the most of what I do. I run a support group as well for my local community. It's an in-person group. And then I see clients virtually, primarily for narcissistic abuse recovery.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And what would you say would be a common symptom of what clients would see you for?
An awful lot of them often believe they have ADHD, which may or may not be the case. Often that is masked by trauma, and it's a very similar set of symptoms or behaviors. They almost always have anxiety. They often have high functioning depression. And then the limiting beliefs are almost identical for every single one. They truly believe they deserved it. They truly believe they can't possibly ever have a healthy relationship. And these things are just simply not true. If they don't do that internal work to heal what went wrong, then they will repeat this over and over and over again in every relationship. And in fact, as somebody heals, they often begin to look around and see that, oh, there are other abusers throughout their entire friend circle, their family circle, and they didn't even realize it before. And a lot of it just stems from learning to love themselves and fully accept who they are, and to be completely comfortable with voicing their boundaries and even recognizing that they didn't have any. And sometimes we even just work through, like, okay, what is a boundary? I didn't know I didn't have any. And how does one go about setting it and enforcing it? And a lot of that comes through the coaching that I do too. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
huge.
So that's like, from, changing their perception from having this into this different person, that's amazing, isn't it? Like,
Mm-hmm.
just
Yeah.
making so much progress in their
Yeah.
lives. And I guess it all comes from that awareness, doesn't it? And
Yeah.
yeah, as you
I
said,
mean,
building
yeah, I mean, because
boundaries.
that was certainly my experience, you know, and that's why I ended up being here, because I was in an abusive relationship for a very, very long time. And the most important thing for me was understanding why. And once you understand why you allowed something, why you stayed for so long, why all the things that my clients typically, you know, they beat themselves up for. I'm like, God, I'm so stupid. I stayed for so long. How did I allow this? And they just feel like, you know, maybe I'm a terrible person and I deserved it. And you know, once they
Yeah.
begin to really see that that's just not true, and to really respect themselves, and to
Mm,
recognize that their needs and their feelings matter, and
that's
to
right.
honor their own feelings first, and really protect themselves, you know, just stand up. And once you're able to recognize and to do that for yourself, you stop tolerating people. And in fact, then as you progress and you begin to heal, you stop attracting these people. And it's
Yeah.
not just you attract them, but you are attracted to them. But once you
Mm,
heal, you'll never have another narcissist in your life. You just won't.
yeah. I guess everyone has bad relationships in their lives, but
Sure.
there's something different about having a relationship with a narcissist.
God, yes.
Wouldn't you say that? Yeah. The
100%. Yeah.
impact that they have, that lasting impact that they have
Because the
for,
victim, you know, truly believes that everything is their fault. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I would apologize to my ex-husband. And then when I really started realizing what was going on, and I would stop and go, wait a minute, why did I apologize? I didn't actually do anything wrong. But yet I apologized profusely, and I would beg him to forgive me, but yet I didn't do anything. So when you're
yeah.
able to start recognizing that, you know, and it's all them playing these mind games, and they, you know, they turn everything back and project it back on you because they can't, due to their deep shame, they don't accept blame for anything. Um,
Mm,
they throw it back at you, and you're the one that did it. You know, you're the abuser, you're the whatever. Um,
mm.
but it's simply not true.
It's simply not true.
It's
And
just not.
that's the power of like
Yeah.
just realizing that you actually do have options.
Yeah. And that's the
That
thing. Like, somebody can't hurt you if you don't let them,
that's right. Yeah.
you know. So if you
It's
don't
amazing, isn't
participate,
it?
and that comes from, you know, learning to love yourself and
Mm,
believing that your needs and your wants are important, and you stand up for yourself. And when
that's
you're in
right.
one of those relationships, it's really difficult to do. You know,
Yeah, I
the
guess
crux of that
knowing
is that
that,
you believe you are the fault at fault for everything.
yeah, like just knowing that there's someone that knows what you've been through is a
Yeah.
really big help as
Well,
well. Like
yeah.
you get that support. You've seen it.
Well,
You've gone through
I
it.
think, you know, most of my clients, you know, they'll try and talk to their girlfriends, their sister, their mom, their, you know, whatever. And people don't get it. And if you've not experienced it, you know, and when you start describing what's happened to you, people are like, well, that doesn't sound so bad. And then you start going, oh, well, maybe I am the problem, you know?
Yeah,
Um, so if somebody hasn't experienced it, they don't really understand it. And it just sounds nutty. Like, he
yeah,
did what now?
yeah.
So it's
Like,
important to have someone that understands it.
yeah, and I guess that would make what would have been that made you so passionate about helping people with this problem, like
Yeah, because that
that.
was my life, you
Yeah,
know?
and you've gone through that. You've actually lived
Yep,
that.
I
You've
did.
survived that because you did talk about how you felt like the only option at one
Mhm.
stage was to end your life.
Yeah, I spent
And
40
then
years with him
something came up for you and you were like, oh no, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try
because
this
I
other.
believed my only value as a human being was being his wife.
Yeah,
And if he discarded me in such a brutal way, clearly I'm a piece of shit. And that's really where I was at emotionally.
yeah,
I had no value if I wasn't married to this person. and he didn't want me. Therefore, I should just stop existing. And that's kind of really, truly what I was thinking. Yeah.
And
So
you're
I've
on
been
the other
there.
side of it. You're on the
Yeah.
other side of that now, and I'm
Yeah.
guessing that you don't hold those beliefs anymore.
No, I don't, and I've
Mm.
decided, through the healing that my life's purpose was to help other women escape this torture and to rebuild
Mm.
their lives and to learn to love themselves fully.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm a
It's
completely
about,
different person than I was, a few years ago.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I remember when I first met you, and I remember like I just felt like you had this skill that was amazing, this ability to just really help people. Even when you were just training, you just had this really natural kind of ability.
That's really
So,
sweet. Thank you.
and we
You
were
know,
like practice partners. It was great. Like I
yeah.
had
Yeah, I
really
know. We've
great.
known each other for a while now.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's the cool thing about becoming an RTT therapist. You don't do it because you want to make lifelong friends, but that is exactly what
just
happens,
happens, doesn't it?
Like
Yeah,
Marissa calls
yeah,
us, the tribe, and we are a tribe. And then when you do
mm,
that in-person training with, this group of there were 10 of us in our group. Um, you by the end of that training, you're all each other's best friend. And of course,
that's
because
right.
we're doing therapy on each other in that training, you learn so much intimate information about each other and our lives and our families and our experiences.
It's
And
amazing, isn't
it is just,
it?
it's phenomenal. And I have a group of sisters now in RTT that I trained with, and you're all like the most important people, in my life, really.
Yeah. So there's that element of support again, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And so if I'm having trouble with a client and I know, that you had a different take on things, then we have that built-in sense of community with one another that we can
yeah,
consult with one another about, I'm having trouble with this client. What do you think? And then we get a lot of feedback with each other and we support each other fully. And if it's somebody that I just don't feel comfortable working with, I can refer them to, one of my colleagues,
yeah,
wholeheartedly, happily, knowing they are in good hands. And I'm making
yeah,
an excellent referral because I know all of you so well.
yeah. That's right. That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like we're still connected to each other. Like in our group, we develop this beautiful, and they will run. I like that there's always an option. Like
Mhm.
there's always someone you can talk to and you can come up with a different perspective. Like
Yeah.
sometimes when you're stuck in that whole thinking, asking for help from another therapist is like, and then you get results for your clients
Yeah.
just
It's
based on what
amazing.
they've helped. Yeah.
So what about you, Lee? Because I know you've kind of jumped around a little bit and tried working with different kinds of clients.
Yeah.
And what are you really focusing on these days?
So I love helping people with anxiety and stress because
Love
I see
anxiety.
it. Stress is everywhere. People are like feel like there's no option. The only option I have is to go to a doctor to get medication. And I just really got like absorbed in that because based on my like background of nursing, and I see a lot of patients who come for operations and they're anxious about life. They're anxious about everything. And that anxiety just limits them in their life. And they're just like
Hmm.
stuck in this whole negative cycle. Like, I can't get out of
Yeah.
it. My heart's racing. I can't breathe. I'm like so anxious. And you're thinking, well, there's other options. You don't
Yeah.
have to go. You don't have
Pharmaceuticals aren't the only option. And don't you
to.
find, because I love working with anxiety because to me, it's so easy to fix for people. Do you have that experience?
Well, I find that people sometimes it is easy to fix, and also at the same time you get to find out the deep down, like that anxiety
Yeah.
can be a symptom of something else. Like
Yeah. Right.
people come to you with anxiety, but deep down it's, something that happened early in their life. Like they
Right.
know their problem because they're an expert in
But
themselves,
they haven't made that connection to realize
but they
that the
haven't
source of
made
the
that
anxiety
connection.
is that.
And stress and anxiety can lead to other things in life, like
Right.
the body feels stress,
Autoimmune.
the body develops inflammation,
Mhm.
and then the body will maybe get blood pressure, maybe get like heart disease, maybe get diabetes.
Yeah.
So, say if you were to reduce anxiety and stress in the body, like other things would just disappear.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I
for
love
sure.
that I've got that background in nursing. I was searching for something that I was really passionate about. And initially it was going to be like self-sabotage, but I just wasn't, I wasn't that excited about it. But I'm
Yeah.
definitely excited helping people with anxiety and stress because, yeah, it's just
Yeah.
really lights me up. And yeah, just love to
Or you can
see
make a
people like,
profound effect on somebody within 2 or 3 sessions. Like it's, yeah.
exactly. Yeah. And even less sometimes, like, yeah, I just love that whole thing. Like people come and then it just disappears, or
Right.
it might come back a little bit, but then eventually they will be like completely happy with what,
Mhm.
yeah. So I just,
So do you ever have clients that are resistant or have a lot of skeptical doubt about how do you
um,
handle that?
so, with resistant clients, I think sometimes you have to think, well, um, what's their reason that they're resistant? Like why are they not feeling comfortable? And it all comes back to education, like telling the client what to expect, telling the client if they've got questions about hypnosis, about therapy. So just asking them and getting them comfortable and having that rapport with them and just educating them and making sure that they're aware and just letting them know if something comes up that they're in a protective space, that it's not going
Mhm.
to go anywhere, that um, that like it's possible because your mind is kind of protecting you from going deep. So just letting them know that
Right.
this is what's going to happen, like just giving them understanding about all the things that could possibly happen in the session. And then I feel like when they do finally trust the therapist and know that they're in a protective environment, supporting environment, that they just finally can relax and just let go and just let whatever comes up come up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, so early on I found that some people would say that they were putting up this whole protection, I don't want you to see
Yeah.
deep because you might judge me. Well, you
Right.
just let them know that that they are safe and that they're in
Yeah.
a protective space, and whatever
I'm
comes
not here to
up,
judge you.
deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure you feel the same, right?
I always think it's always a little bit odd to me, or curious, maybe I would say, that somebody comes to you, they're willing to pay for your services, but yet they're resistant to really let themselves go into it. It's like, you paid for this. This is what you're here for. But then you have to also then examine, okay, so like you said, like why are you so afraid? What are you concerned about? And then some of that comes through, just setting them up for success, like you said, so that they understand there's nothing scary that's going to happen. You're going to be aware of everything. um I have one client I'm working with right now, and she's just fairly resistant to allowing herself to go into the hypnosis, and she'll say, like, I'm terrible at imagining things or visualizing things. And I'm thinking, no, you're not. And we work on that a lot. And some of it, she's just so type A that she wants to control everything, right? But so, that's challenging, but you have to work a lot with why are you so scared of something, and really figure out, so they feel safe. And I don't think it's
Yeah.
that this client feels unsafe per se. I think she's wound tight, and that's her personality. So,
Well,
learning to work with
yeah.
different people and different personalities is,
And well,
part of the
I
challenge.
don't know if you agree that, say if some challenge comes up, I love when a challenge comes up because that means I get to think of a different perspective. I get to
Mhm.
learn from clients. I just love that. And that's one of the amazing things about doing therapy. You meet different
Right.
types of people. No one's the same, right? You can
Mhm.
only think, well, I've done this before and I know my niche and I know that
Yeah.
this is what people's beliefs could be, but you don't know until you
Mhm.
go into that session.
You
And I
don't.
love that whole uncertainty of,
Surprise.
yeah, surprise. And it's, yeah, it gets me thinking, and I love that. And I love that we get there in the end.
Mhm.
And yeah, it
Yeah,
takes you to places.
I like to think of the client as a little bit of a puzzle, and
Mm,
and it's like, you're putting on your detective hat and you're trying to figure out where all the pieces are and how they fit together. And a lot of it
yeah,
just comes from learning to craft really good questions, right? And
yeah,
to really pay attention. Sometimes it's not what they say, it's what they don't say. And then picking up on those little nuances, or even it's just a word that maybe they say that gives you a clue to something, and then it'll trigger
mm,
a and then you'll ask the right question. I know I had a client one time ask me after the session. She said, I noticed that there would be a lot of silence between questions, and you would ask me something, and I said, well, because I'm thinking, I'm I'm paying attention to what you said, and then I'm thinking through, what you might have meant, and then I'm formulating a question. So it's not this rapid fire, whatever. So I'm actually, trying to figure you out, and what to ask
yeah,
next. So that,
yeah,
sometimes it's like I need to figure out what it is I need to know and how I'm going to get you to tell me that. Right?
yeah, exactly. So I have we've talked a lot about clients and their symptoms and your niche, my niche. So how has RTT, we've touched on this a little bit, but how has RTT changed your life in
Gosh,
like,
I'm a whole different person.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, when I
yeah,
started, I was just, on the beginning of my healing journey, and going to RTT school, and then also doing trauma training, um, was a big part of my own personal therapy, right? And of course, kind of the bonus for doing this schooling is you get like limitless amounts of RTT therapy with other people, sometimes of dubious quality, because we are all students. And you
yeah,
experience some, various quality of sessions, but you do have that full access. And as you get more and more advanced, of course, everybody gets better and better. And the change that I personally underwent emotionally, physically, and otherwise has been like, I am literally an entirely different person. I'm now 42 pounds lighter than when I started because of RTT. I've used RTT to lose weight.
mm-hmm.
I have used RTT to just heal everything about me in my life. And I am a completely different person. I see the world in a very different way. Um,
That's phenomenal. And you
career
can't put a
wise, it's
price
a
on
whole
that,
new
right?
world. Right.
Can't put a price on that.
Priceless. How about you? How's it changed your life and all the people you meet, right?
Yeah, the people I met, like I've got this whole new group of friends, like I can run things by. Whereas other courses I've done, you do the course and that's really it,
Yeah.
I've been able to stop self-sabotage with my gluten-free diet. Like, how long have you got? Just like some things I've
Right.
forgotten because I made the change. I didn't
Mhm.
record it.
Yeah.
Just lots of disconnections from problems that I thought were huge. And it turns out that they were just just needed a session and just
Yeah.
completely gone. Trading's improved. My other job, which I'm passionate about, by the way. My nursing job has improved, like just my relationships in my nursing job. Yeah, if just my life has changed as well. Like I guess, a career change, knowing that this works and knowing that I have this skill to offer
Yeah.
people to improve their lives.
But don't you
Even
feel
my
that as you move through this, you can recognize the change in yourself and you can almost stand back in awe and see how much you've grown? And that's kind of amazing, right?
yeah, like just growing, like just like yeah, just like I feel like now, like I get up with purpose and
Mm-hmm.
passion, and knowing that I actually get to help people in a different way. Because when I was looking back, I was like, when I was a child, what did I want to do? I wanted to be, it was always helping somebody. Like I wanted to look after children. I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be an ambulance driver. It was all around helping people. And
Yeah.
then I became a nurse. And sometimes people were, why do you like being a nurse? Because I get to help people. Why do you like RTT? Because I get to help people move past their problems. And I love that. Like, I love seeing people in a better place than when they
Yeah.
first, like, you just see this, like, light in them, don't you? I'm sure you see that about your
Yeah.
clients.
Yeah.
And it's like the light was off, the light's now on. Like you just see this glitter in their eye, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Hard to
Yeah.
explain, but you notice.
I
Yeah,
do. I know. Yeah. It's like an honor to have the ability to impact people's lives on a daily basis like that in such a profound way. And I feel so blessed to be able to do this and to have met all of these incredible people and
yeah,
to met Marissa Peer and all of the things, and all these amazing people that we experience these things with. And then, to walk hand in hand with these clients and to make these profound impact on their lives.
yeah. So, yeah,
It's cool. It's really
I'm
cool.
just like, how you just fall into things, and just like it's the right choice. Like,
Mhm.
I
It
definitely
lights
would
you
never
up,
look back.
right? It
It
just lights
lights
you
me
up.
up too.
Mhm.
Yes.
In a way that
Yeah,
nursing doesn't, right? And then don't you find that it beyond the professional sphere, like it impacts your personal relationships in a huge way, right? The way you interact, the way you listen, the way you everything.
yeah. The one thing about RTT that I found, I've become a better listener.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard people say before, one of my mentors always said that people are not actually, they're waiting to speak. So they're not really listening to you, they're waiting to speak. So when a client feels like you're actually listening to them,
Mm-hmm.
that's profound, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
they know you. You know them. You know, uh, basically, because you've been there, or you're such an expert in your area that you
Mm-hmm.
can sort their problem out, and that's profound.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're actually going to listen to them. You're actually going to sit there and listen,
Mm-hmm.
and not tell them what their problem is. You're actually going to listen and help them work out a
Yeah.
solution. Yeah. Mm.
So in your practice, do you use other tools beyond RGT, or how does that work?
Well, so I just use I use basically RTT. is my base, but I have like conversational hypnosis as well that I've learned. Say someone doesn't really want to do hypnosis, I would use that as well. But basically, I find that clients don't really care about how we do it. It's just getting a result. So it's more about the client getting a solution for their problem, and they don't care if I'm going to like get a cattle prod out, and they don't. Well, obviously they would care, but just they don't really care. They've got a problem and they want help, and they don't really care what you.
Often
as
I
long as
think
you
that
help
they
get a
feel
solution.
desperate when they get to us, right?
Yeah, that's right. So they're
They've
desperate.
tried everything.
They've tried everything. They can't get past it. They have no idea how they're going to change, but they really want a solution. And knowing that you're the person that can help them is just, and when you do help them, they're like, oh my God, why didn't I try you first?
Right.
Why didn't I?
I mean, how many times do you see a client who has been seeing a psychotherapist or talk therapist or whatever for years, dealing with their depression, their anxiety, their whatever, and then you work with them 2 or 3 times and they're good?
Yeah. I think because sometimes people don't know their options, that's why they go to the doctor, they go to the therapist.
Yeah.
But
And,
when
and it's
we're putting
not that
ourselves,
going to a therapist is bad. I mean, I see
no,
one
no,
too. It's a great thing, but sometimes it's highly beneficial to be able to talk things through. But to make that deep, profound change, you've got to interact with the subconscious, and talk therapy is just not going to do that, right? When you understand the root cause of something, you can eliminate, eradicate, reprogram, whatever. But that's not happening in talk therapy. That's more of a rational conversation, right?
Yeah. I find that because people know what I do, sometimes people do come to me first, and then they don't go down that path. Like, because I talk a lot about what I do, because I'm so passionate about it, people just come, I need your help. And then they're like, oh,
okay.
you can actually help me. I don't have to go down this path, because sometimes people mask their problems with alcohol.
Yeah.
They don't know.
Oh yeah, the coping mechanisms that are self-destructive come into play.
Right.
The bad eating, the drinking, the cigarettes, the whatever, gambling, whatever self-sabotaging behaviors that people engage in,
I feel
drugs.
so bad for people that don't know that what their options are. So this is why we're getting out there and just showing people that we can help them, and
Right. I mean,
and that
before all of this, for me, I was very much a skeptic of any kind of alternative modalities, or I would have rolled my eyes at somebody that said they were a Reiki master, or whatever, and I just go, oh yeah, right, that really works. And I've actually had people I've known for years who now see that I do this, and they'll come to me and ask for help, because they'll say, obviously this works if you of all people believe in it.
skeptic
So,
becomes.
I promise you it works. It truly does. I mean,
Yeah, well, that's good.
look at the life I live now. I'm like a different person.
Yeah, completely different from the way I didn't know you in that pain point area that you were discussing, but I can definitely see that you're not living like that anymore. No, you have this light about you, this like just your eyes are just very, I can tell you have this like passion. Yeah, it's
And
amazing.
you're really passionate too. I mean, gosh, you and I talk about this stuff all the time.
Yeah, well, we can talk for hours, and if you let us, we
And
will. We'll probably
we
be here
do.
at 6 o'clock tonight, talking about our passions. But
Right.
yeah, like just yeah, I thought that you had to get like a normal job helping people in a 9 to 5 job, but knowing that we have these skills, we can, help people in different time zones, different areas, and doing a session via Zoom.
And I think, like
opens it.
COVID kind of opened the door to a lot of these, people are so much more, it's not that, Zoom didn't exist before or whatever, but it's become so normalized now, right? And people just immediately realize, oh, I don't need to see a therapist who lives near me. It doesn't matter where the therapist is. I mean,
Yeah,
I've
safety.
seen clients in Singapore, I've seen clients in Japan, I've seen clients in South Africa, I've seen clients in Canada,
Wow.
all over the US. I had a client in Europe as well. So it doesn't matter. I try and keep regular office hours, but if somebody's in Singapore,
Yeah.
the time
Yeah.
zone is so completely crazy for me, like I'll get up at 3 in the morning and do a session. Okay.
Yeah. You're willing to help anyone, right?
Yeah,
Like
doesn't matter
that
to
needs
me.
you. And that's
When you're
fantastic that
self-employed,
we
you can
have
make
it.
your day is what your day is, right? You can do that.
Yeah. So I love that as well, because clients sometimes say, oh, where do I see you? Well, we can do a Zoom session.
Yeah.
And
And then they
yeah,
go, does it work on Zoom? Yeah.
yeah, it works. Like most of my sessions have been on Zoom.
Yeah.
And I've had clients call me, like one client, she sent me a message, what have you done to me? I feel amazing. I'm like, you did it, my
Yay.
friend.
Yeah.
And that was done on Zoom. We had some issues with connection, but we got back and it was all good. Um, and yeah, so she was like blown away, and I was like, wow, yeah, that's how it works. It works as long as we're face to face, right? We're seeing things
Right.
and we're connecting
As long as I
together,
can see
even
you,
though,
you can
yeah,
hear me and I can hear you. That's all we
that's
need.
right. Yeah,
I think that maybe that stems from the fact that people still believe what they see on TV and in the movies about hypnosis in general. And of course, RTT specifically, people don't know what that is. They have no idea. Um,
yeah.
but because they think it's some kind of like, I'm going to swing a pendulum in front of you, or a pocket watch, or there's a metronome in the corner. Um, and I have to like knock you down in a chair, or whatever it is they think, because they've seen it in a movie. Well, none of that's
Or we're
real.
going to make you go around and do this.
Yeah, and then
Someone
they want
asked
to
me
know,
that,
do you make me cluck like a chicken, fall in love with the
only if
broom?
you want to.
Oh yeah, I mean, if that's something you would normally do, I could make you do that, sure. But if it's not something you would normally do, then no.
So funny,
Yeah,
that perception, isn't it? Because
it
I
is.
don't know if you had that same view before you did this type of therapy, if you had that view of
I had
hypnosis.
no idea even what it was. When I found out about RTT, I'd never heard the word. In fact, I signed up for it and I still barely even knew it was called RTT. A friend of mine was so worried about me because I was suicidal, as I mentioned, and she was sending me videos of this woman on YouTube, and she was sending me all these videos of her talking about her abusive, narcissistic abuse clients. And it resonated with me so closely, and I was blown away that this lady was talking about my experience, and I would have sworn to you she was sitting in the bushes watching me through the window. And I became obsessed to the point where I tracked her down on the internet, found her home phone number, and called her, just cold, and then apologized profusely that I called her and I said, I need help. I need you to help me. And she talked to me a couple hours on the phone, and I still had no idea what it was she did. I just had this in
You
my
just
head
knew
that
she could help you, right?
she's going to help me because she understands me like nobody else does. Um, and I was seeing a therapist at the time who was lovely, but I was still
You
suicidal.
weren't getting results, were you?
Right. I was
Yeah.
miserable. And we did a session a couple days later, and like the rest is history. And until I did that session, I had no idea RTT had hypnosis in it. I didn't have a clue. And ultimately, I didn't really give a shit what it was. If she could make me feel better,
Exactly.
that's all I cared about, right?
And you got what you wanted from this therapist, and yeah, you were blown away, and she knew your
Yeah,
problem, you got results, and that's what you
exactly.
wanted.
And then I started
So,
thinking, so how does one become this? And why don't more people know about this? And if it helped me this much, obviously if I could do this for other people, wouldn't that be amazing? And I was
for
at a
sure.
crossroads, professionally in my life at that point anyways. And it was like, maybe this is the answer for me, right?
And it was. You
And it
acted, right? You took
was,
action
it was.
and you got
I know.
results.
I know. And I remember, I was terrified to tell my therapist that I'd done RTT, because I didn't know what she would think, and I remember that a couple days later, I had a session with her, and before I didn't say anything to her about it. And she said, something's different about you. And she said, I don't know what it is, but whatever you've done, I like it. And I said, well, I did do something and I'm not sure how you'll feel about it. And I said, do you know what rapid transformational therapy is? And she said, I don't, but she's over there, furiously scrawling it down on a piece of paper to look it up later. And she said, whatever it is, I think it's freaking awesome because look at you, like, and we talked at length, and she now sends me referrals.
That's amazing. Like,
Yeah.
so fantastic, isn't it? Just to,
Yeah. When I told her I was going to sign up to do the program and become an RTT therapist, I was kind of like, I don't know what she's going to think of this. And she was like, that's awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome.
well, the thing is, it doesn't matter what she thinks. It's up to you, right?
Right.
And you
Yeah.
had results,
Yeah. But at that point in
saw
my
the
life,
value.
because coming out of that abusive relationship, I was so focused on pleasing other people because that's part of the codependency that goes along with being an abuse victim, right? I was so
Yes.
codependent that I needed to please my therapist.
Oh,
And that was
that's,
the most important thing to me.
wow, that's profound, isn't
Mhm.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I
realizing that.
recognize that now. And I'm just like, I don't really care if she likes it or not.
Yeah,
Yeah. I like it.
yeah. So
Right.
that's an old pattern that you were holding on to, and you release that. And then look at you now, like you don't care. Like you went from, I
Yeah.
guess you would say people pleaser in a way, wouldn't you?
Big
People
time.
pleaser to
I was a
be in your
grade
own
A
power.
top class people pleaser. I was an expert people pleaser. Yeah.
Wow.
And now I
That,
please myself. Yeah.
well, you're people pleasing, but you're not actually doing it. You're doing it for yourself. So that's the
Right.
best person.
Because I've healed all of my codependency. Yeah. Yeah.
On
Thank you.
fire.
Thank you,
On fire.
RTT. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. This is,
It's
yeah,
amazing, isn't
even,
it?
yeah, I get these stories and sometimes I get teary because I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
this is powerful. And just knowing someone so well, like as you mentioned, you felt like this woman was watching you because she knew you so well. She knew, and then you connected with her, you got results
Yeah.
because she understood you so well. And that's what you're doing for your clients. And that's what I'm doing for my clients. We understand the
Right.
problem. And it's, yeah,
And it's not
it's
to say
amazing.
that you have to have walked in someone's shoes to help them with a problem, like,
Exactly.
have I been, had a gambling addiction? No. Would I be effective at helping somebody with it? Sure. You know,
Yeah, 100%.
some of it's
Yeah.
just relating to somebody on a very, human level and,
Mm,
and really being curious enough. And that's a word that we're taught from what lesson number 1 with Marissa is to develop that curiosity and ask
yeah.
those important questions and really just,
Yeah,
just
a
want to know what
mentor.
makes somebody tick.
Yeah, another mentor once told me as well, which I really resonated with. So you're saying, well, this client has this problem. I don't have this problem. I'm so curious. How has this person developed this problem?
Mm-hmm.
And you really like, I just love that because I love to get so curious to find out more. And I
Right.
think being in that position, detaching yourself as well. really helps. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think in some ways, people ask me how what I did before. And I was a designer for decades. And while on first blush, it seems very unrelated, but a designer is nothing more than a problem solver. You're a creative problem solver. And in a way, that's very much what RTT is too.
Yeah, like investigating.
You're figuring out
Investigation.
creative solutions for a problem.
Yeah,
And maybe in this case, it's someone's
100%.
anxiety or their, binge drinking or whatever it is they do.
Exactly. And I don't know if you feel the same way as I feel about, like, say, sometimes you get some help by helping someone. Like, say, you might change, your life might change because of the way you've helped a client. Like, say, yeah, like your perspective changes on something as well. And I love that we get those positive impacts from clients as well.
Yeah.
So
You
I
have a
just, it
front
just,
row seat, and you get to learn, from someone's individual experience and how it impacts you and your life and the way you think about things that are or are not related to your life, but can have a really profound effect on you and how you operate and how you see the world.
yeah,
And I think in general, it makes you more accepting of things that are different from your experience.
that's right. Yeah, yeah. It's been a pleasure talking with you today yet again.
Yes,
And
it's
I
always a
know we
pleasure.
could talk,
We could talk for hours
all
and
day
hours.
long,
Yeah.
but I'm sure you have some clients to
All
attend
right,
to.
Lee. I'm sure you do as well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's been a joy talking with you. And until
Thank you
next
so
time.
much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.